Tragedy at SeaWorld. It happened without warning. A killer whale grabbed a trainer who'd always dreamed of working with orcas and pulled her underwater.
On February 24, 2010, SeaWorld trainer Dawn Brancheau stepped into her usual role for the Dine with Shamu show, a routine she'd performed countless times. Little did she know this day would end in unimaginable horror. During the show, she suffered severe injuries, losing her left arm and part of her scalp. Tragically, she didn't survive. Despite the gruesome outcome, SeaWorld refuses to accept responsibility. How could such a seasoned trainer meet such a gruesome end at the hands of the park's star attraction? Born on April 16, 1969 in Cedar Lake, Indiana, Dawn Therese Brancheau was the youngest of 6 children. Growing up with a passion for animals that would shape her future in profound ways. From a young age, Dawn dreamed of working with the majestic orcas, inspired by a family trip to SeaWorld Orlando. She pursued her passion with determination, graduating from the University of South Carolina with degrees in psychology and animal behavior, a solid foundation for her future career. Even outside of her professional life, Dawn's love for animals shone through as she volunteered at a local animal shelter and cared for her own pets, including 2 chocolate Labradors and a menagerie of stray ducks, chickens, rabbits, and small birds. Dawn's journey into the world of marine entertainment began at Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey, where she spent 2 years working with dolphins before joining SeaWorld Orlando in 1994. Initially tasked with caring for otters and sea lions, Dawn quickly transitioned to working with the park's iconic orcas in 1996, the same year she married Scott Brancheau, a fellow SeaWorld performer. Her dedication to her craft was unparalleled. Dawn understood the physical demands of working with orcas and took proactive steps to stay in peak condition, participating in marathons, cycling, and weightlifting to maintain her fitness. Her hard work and leadership skills were recognized when she played a pivotal role in revamping the Shamu show, SeaWorld's flagship attraction, over a period of 2 to 3 years. As a senior trainer, Dawn was a fixture in SeaWorld's public performances, captivating audiences with her expertise and grace. Her talent and dedication earned her the title of SeaWorld's poster girl, featured prominently on billboards throughout Orlando. Despite the inherent risks involved in working closely with orcas, Dawn approached her job with fearlessness and courage, qualities that were admired by her colleagues and spectators alike. Dawn's impact extended beyond the confines of SeaWorld. She appeared on television programs like NBC affiliate WESH, where she discussed the physical challenges of her profession and the importance of staying fit. Initially tasked with caring for otters and sea lions, she soon found herself face-to-face with the apex predators of the sea. In 1996, she took her first tentative steps into the world of orca training, a decision that would seal her fate. For a decade, Dawn dedicated herself to the rigorous demands of working with orcas, pushing her body to the limits in a relentless pursuit of perfection. By now, Dawn formed deep connections with the magnificent creatures she cared for. Her bond with Tilikum, a troubled orca, was central to her life's work. Despite Tilikum's troubled past, marked by captivity and aggression, Dawn believed in his potential for rehabilitation and formed a unique bond with him. However, this bond ultimately led to a tragic and fatal incident that shocked the world. Tilikum, also known as Blackfish, entered Dawn's life with a troubled history. Captured off the coast of Iceland at a young age, Tilikum spent years in captivity, enduring the stress of confinement and social dynamics within marine parks. Despite efforts to integrate him into other groups of orcas, Tilikum faced challenges due to his size and previous experiences. In 1992, Tilikum was transferred to SeaWorld Orlando, where he became a major attraction. Despite his troubled history and aggressive tendencies, Tilikum's size and notoriety drew crowds. Dawn, like many trainers, recognized Tilikum's potential for rehabilitation and worked tirelessly to build a trusting relationship with him. Despite Tilikum's troubled past, Dawn saw him as a complex and intelligent creature, deserving of care and understanding. She spent countless hours training and bonding with him, using positive reinforcement techniques to build trust and cooperation. Witnesses and fellow trainers noted the special connection between Dawn and Tilikum, with the orca responding positively to her guidance and commands. However, on February 24, 2010, tragedy struck towards the end of a routine training session. As part of the end of the show routine, Dawn herself was at the edge of the pool, engaged in the routine task of rubbing Tilikum's head. However, in a sudden and swift movement, Tilikum seized Dawn, pulling her into the water with incredible force. Witnesses recounted varying details of the attack, with some suggesting that Tilikum grabbed Dawn by her ponytail or shoulder. Even some witnesses had the whole situation on camera. Regardless of the exact manner, the result was devastating. Tilikum's movements were lightning fast as he dragged Dawn underwater, his immense strength overpowering her. SeaWorld employees made efforts to intervene using nets and throwing food into the water in a desperate attempt to distract Tilikum. As Dawn's life hung in the balance, employees worked to direct Tilikum to a smaller medical pool where they hoped to calm him down. After a tense 45 minutes, Tilikum finally released Dawn's lifeless body. The autopsy report revealed the horrifying extent of Dawn's injuries. She had died from drowning and blunt force trauma, her body ravaged by the sheer force of Tilikum's attack. Her spinal cord was severed and she had suffered fractures to her jawbone, ribs, and cervical vertebra. Perhaps most chillingly, her scalp was torn completely from her head, and she had dislocated her left elbow and knee. You see, despite years of positive interactions, Tilikum suddenly turned on Dawn, dragging her into the water and inflicting fatal injuries. As Dawn lay next to Tilikum just a few inches of water away, she possibly had no reason to suspect that she was about to be torn apart. The incident sent shockwaves through SeaWorld and the wider community, prompting a reassessment of safety protocols and the ethics of keeping orcas in captivity. Dawn's death sparked widespread debate about the treatment of captive orcas and the risks associated with their training. Despite the claims from SeaWorld employees that the accident was unpredictable, evidence suggested otherwise. You see, it wasn't the first time Tilikum turned on its trainer. The whale had a history of aggression, including the fatal attack on Sealand trainer Kelty Byrne, which raised serious questions about the risks involved in working closely with captive orcas. It was later revealed that SeaWorld trainers were often expected to continue performances even when they noticed signs of potential aggression from the orcas. In one case, trainers ended a show after an orca began to exhibit behavior such as ignoring signals and grabbing at a trainer's arm. However, SeaWorld's vice president for animal training criticized their actions, arguing that the show should not have ended early. This culture of prioritizing entertainment over safety was deeply troubling. Trainers were put in difficult positions, forced to find the fine line between their own safety and the demands of their employers. Despite SeaWorld's official position that trainers could end a program at any time if it felt dangerous, the reality seemed to suggest otherwise. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration raised an investigation into SeaWorld's practices, citing multiple violations and demanding changes to protect trainers. The agency's findings highlighted the inherent risks of working closely with such intelligent and powerful animals in captivity. Critics of marine captivity argued that keeping orcas confined for entertainment purposes was inherently cruel and dangerous. The tragic death of Dawn Brancheau, along with other incidents involving captive orcas, served as evidence of the risks involved in exploiting these animals for human entertainment. The debate over the ethics of marine captivity raged on, with advocates calling for an end to keeping orcas in captivity for entertainment. SeaWorld's handling of the tragic incident involving Dawn Brancheau and Tilikum came under intense scrutiny, revealing troubling patterns and negligence within the marine park's operations. The findings presented by the Occupational Safety and Health Administration painted a damning picture of SeaWorld's disregard for the safety of its trainers and the welfare of its captive animals. In the 2 decades leading up to Dawn Brancheau's death, SeaWorld had received over 100 reports of aggression and precursors to aggression from orcas, resulting in 12 incidents that caused injury or death to trainers. Shockingly, SeaWorld's own corporate curator for zoological operations admitted that some incidents were not even documented, including Dawn Brancheau's death and a previous incident involving Tilikum. SeaWorld's negligence extended to its decision-making process regarding Tilikum's inclusion in its marine park. Despite warnings about the potential danger posed by Tilikum, SeaWorld obtained a permit for the orca from the National Marine Fisheries Service without thoroughly reviewing the incident report about the Sealand trainer's death. Instead, SeaWorld attributed the previous attack to a design flaw at Sealand and reassured authorities that its safety measures were superior. Questions were still unanswered about SeaWorld's response to Dawn Brancheau's death. Why did the park wait 27 minutes to call for medics after Tilikum pulled Brancheau into the water? Was SeaWorld using this time to manipulate the narrative and remove witnesses whose accounts contradicted its version of events? Furthermore, SeaWorld's attempt to blame its own trainer for her death, despite evidence of systemic failures in safety measures, raised serious concerns about accountability and transparency. The evidence presented in the judge's decision suggested that SeaWorld downplayed the risks associated with working with captive orcas and attempted to cover up its own failures. The park's prioritization of profits over the safety of its trainers and the well-being of its captive animals cast doubt on its credibility and commitment to ethical practices. Immediately following the incident, SeaWorld implemented a voluntary prohibition on trainers entering the water with orcas during shows. This decision, although initially internal, was later solidified by the OSHA's intervention, which led to a series of legal battles between SeaWorld and regulatory authorities. Despite SeaWorld's attempts to challenge OSHA's citations and rulings, the ban on water performances with orcas remained in place until at least 2014. Dawn Brancheau's death was not an isolated incident within SeaWorld's history. She was the second SeaWorld trainer to be killed by an orca, and her death was the third fatality associated with Tilikum, the orca involved in the incident. In fact, since orcas were first placed in captivity, there have been over 40 documented safety incidents, resulting in serious injuries to numerous trainers. The legal proceedings following Brancheau's death revealed glaring deficiencies in SeaWorld's safety practices and a pattern of negligence towards the well-being of its trainers. OSHA's investigation concluded that swimming with captive orcas was inherently dangerous, and it criticized SeaWorld's disregard for employee safety. Despite SeaWorld's claims to the contrary, the court sided with OSHA, highlighting the ineffectiveness of SeaWorld's safety procedures in protecting trainers. The court's ruling emphasized the unpredictability inherent in working with killer whales and underscored SeaWorld's ethical duty to prioritize the safety of its trainers. While SeaWorld sought to return to water performances through a series of appeals, regulatory authorities remained firm in their stance on protecting trainer safety. In the wake of Brancheau's death, her widower, Scott Brancheau, chose not to pursue legal action against SeaWorld. However, the incident prompted broader discussions about the ethics of marine captivity and the treatment of captive orcas. Either way, Dawn's tragic death prompted calls for greater transparency, accountability, and respect for both human and animal welfare within the marine entertainment industry. Ultimately, SeaWorld's actions raised fundamental questions about trust and whether the park could be relied upon to prioritize the well-being of its animals over financial gain. Now, what are your thoughts on this? One thing we can all agree on is that SeaWorld didn't take the risks to its trainers seriously and tried to hide its mistakes when Dawn Brancheau died. They cared more about making money than keeping their trainers safe. If they don't care about their own employees, why would they care about the animals? To help all the animals SeaWorld keeps, don't go to their parks or support them in any way. Anyway, do drop your thoughts in the comments section below, and while you're at it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications to stay updated on our stories. See you in the next episode.